Hey y'all, welcome to my show. I'm back at the table this week, and I'm trying to stay warm, so don't mind my big fluffy blanket sweater that I'm wearing tonight. There's a lot to talk about. I'm not sure if you read the description yet, but some of the stuff I talk about tonight is going to be pretty personal. Some of it's personal to the whole country. I want to start off by talking about the Parkland shooting. So about 4.5 years ago, we all know this happened, the Parkland school shooting, where 3 teachers and 14 students and 17 people in total were killed by this animal of a guy who thought the world owed him something. And for 4.5 years, these families have had to sit through stall after stall after stall of this guy's defense team, putting in injunction, all kinds of things. I mean, stalling for this reason, stalling for that reason. We gotta wait because of this, and we gotta wait because of that. And these families were also held from saying what they wanted to say. Like when the jury was there, they were not allowed to speak about the crime or about the punishment or about anything that could be seen as giving bias to the jury. They were put in prison basically of their minds. I mean, what they were allowed to express. If they made a face, the defense would throw a fit. The defense in this case was insanely disrespectful. Now, I haven't watched the whole thing. I did some research over the last few days on this case, and I'm going to be doing some more. But from what I've seen so far, it's really insane. The judge that presided over this case, from what I understand, did an amazing job. There's some similar ties to the Darrell Brooks case in the sense that this judge's determination was to make sure there was no way they could get a mistrial or appeal. right? So she allowed certain things in order to squash the defense from claiming mistrial. From what I understand as well, throughout this 4-month trial, 4 months, after 4.5 years of waiting, by the way, throughout this 4-month trial, the defense threatened mistrial several times. Okay? There's even a moment during this trial where one of the many defense attorneys, I believe there's like 7 sitting over there with him. There's also like 7 or 8 prosecuting as well. There's like 7 defense attorneys sitting over there with this asshole. And you will not hear his name from me tonight, just so you know. The only names you're going to hear are the victims. He's sitting there with this lawyer, and this piece of shit who doesn't show any remorse, no emotion at all when hearing the evidence or seeing the families talk, but he'll laugh with his lawyer while she flips off the judge. Yeah. What the hell is that? And excuse my language, but are you kidding me? The amount of disrespect that I saw just in the couple days I've been researching this is insane. Like, what happened to respecting judges? What happened to following the order of the law? What happened to at least trying to do the right thing? Look at that punk. What the hell, man? Ugh, this guy. What happened to at least trying to do the right thing? Trying to be honorable, even if you have to defend the undefensibles, what this guy is. Even if you have to defend him, at least do it honorably. I want to read off these names real quick, so keep that picture up there. The parents of these people spoke. I saw some of the parents speaking today during the sentencing part. Oh man, I was bawling like a little baby. So there's Alyssa Al-Hadif. I think she was 17. Scott Beagle, from what I remember, was 35. Martin Duque, I think, was 14. Nicholas Dwart. I'm butchering these names, I'm sorry. I think he was either 14 or 16. Aaron Feist was one of the teachers. Jamie Gutenberg, she was 14, I remember, because her mom and dad spoke. And it was so moving. Chris Hickson is the 49-year-old teacher. Luke Hoyer, I believe, was 17. Kara Lurin, it was 14, I believe. Gina Montalto, I believe, was also 14. Joaquin Oliver was 17. Elena Petty, 14. Meadow Pollock, I'm not sure her age. Helena Ramsey, again, I'm not sure her age. Alex Schachter, Carmen Schentrup, and Peter Wang. These are the victims of this piece of crap. And their parents, they were all there in court. I mean, it was amazing to see their families there, the whole trial, watching them have to go through this over and over again, listen to the disrespect, watch the behavior, watch this guy have no remorse. And I'll tell you, Scott Beagle, the teacher on the top left, and Jamie Gutenberg's parents I watched today. So there was 2 parents for Scott Beagle. They're in their late 60s, almost 70. And Jamie Gutenberg, her parents, those 2 groups of parents were so moving. It was incredible. I was bawling like a little baby. And then you look at the perpetrator, and he's just sitting there with this dumb, stupid look on his face. I couldn't believe it. It's really, really crazy. And I'm going to show you a video here in a little bit, but I want to prep you guys before I do that. So, getting back to the story, he has no remorse. He shows no remorse. The defense tried to claim that he's mentally ill. Like I said, they played tricks with the jury. They put him in a outfit to make him look younger than he is. And they made him slouch at the table, kind of like I am now. And he had a mask covering him part of the time, and part of the time he didn't. And they tried to make him look as young and innocent as possible. They played a lot of games. They talked about how inhumane the death penalty is, because this was a death penalty trial. It just boggles my mind. So a couple weeks ago, the jury decided that they were going to request that his sentence would be life in prison, not death penalty. And so the families have had a couple weeks to sit with this. And then the last couple days, they finally get their opportunity to talk in court. Hi, guys. And the jury, of course, isn't in there. They've done their part. They finally get a chance to talk in court, and the things that they're able to say now that they weren't able to say throughout the trial, I think it would have been different. I think what happened was one juror didn't believe in the death penalty, so no matter what they did, he wouldn't have gotten it. And that's a real injustice, you guys. There's a lot of injustices I'm going to be talking about tonight. This one I wanted to start with because I wanted to get the hard part over with. There's some hard things about this case. This guy, I believe he was a teenager at the time, but I think he was 19 or he was 18 when this happened. He claims that he was bullied and he was picked on and woe is me, and he has mental health. The defense tried to claim that he slipped through the cracks, that the mental health system failed him, that he didn't get the proper treatment. But what's interesting is one of the parents got up there and laid out all the treatment this person received. And from a very young age, he never slipped through the cracks. He was receiving all kinds of counseling. He had counseling once a week, counseling several times a week. He was in and out of hospitals. He was on different medications. He was constantly being monitored. He never slipped through the cracks. Yet the defense claimed that and was able to use that in order to get a sympathetic jury. There's all kinds of things this defense did that I believe is very unethical. One of the parents called for the resignation of the leader of this defense team. From what I understand, a couple days prior, he got up there and claimed that these parents were perpetrating violence and making threats against the defense team. And then he tried to say that these families were trying to threaten the defense team's kids. And then he started to try to threaten, say, well, judge, if I threaten your kids. She flipped, man. The judge did a good job. Shut him down immediately and made him go sit. But because of that, one of the parents got up there and says, I think he should, I'm asking for his resignation right now. Because how could you possibly do that? How, you flip off the judge, you disrespect us throughout this whole trial, you completely shut us up, we're not allowed to speak in fear of a mistrial, because God knows we can't go through this again. You lie, you bring up things, you misrepresent the truth, and now, when we finally get to talk, after 4.5 years, we finally get to say how we're feeling. And because we dare tell you that if you have children, we're praying for them because you are willing to go to these lengths. Yeah, they understand that they had a job to do. And sometimes defense attorneys have a hard time because they have to defend people that aren't defensible. But they didn't have to do it that way. They didn't have to go that route. They didn't have to lose their morals. They didn't have to sell their soul to defend this guy. And that's, I think, what the parents were getting at. So before we show this video, I want to warn you. It's a video from inside the school during the shooting. It's a part of it you can see the shooter. Part of it you can hear it. So if that is something that you can't handle, I would say step away for a couple minutes and come back. It's only a short video, but I don't want anyone to have issues because of something I'm showing. So I'm giving you a fair warning right now. If any of that is something you can't handle, just step away for about 3 minutes and come back, and we'll talk about it. And here we go.
Students and faculty had little time to react. Those who escaped the initial onslaught of gunfire ran for cover and reached out to loved ones. Caitlin Carbachi was at work yesterday when her younger sister, Hannah, texted in a panic. Caitlin, there is a shooter on campus. I am not joking. Call 911, please. Hannah, what? Are you serious? Run. Caitlin, I am not joking. They just shot through the walls. Someone in my class is injured. I am not joking. Call mom and dad. The next message was to her parents, in case she did not make it. I'm so scared, Caitlin.
Poor
Tell
thing.
them I love them so much. I know, Hannah, you're gonna be fine. Moments later, she texted about a wounded classmate. They got shot like 8 minutes ago when the shooting started. How many shots did you hear? a lot. It happened in a first-floor classroom. Hannah survived, and so did Samantha Grady, a junior who was grazed by a bullet while hiding in the same classroom. This morning, they received the terrible news about their injured classmate.
Unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Some who survived hid behind chairs in the auditorium or in closets. Many tried to keep as quiet as possible, all while texting emergency messages.
I was one of the parents right now outside here. He's saying they can text us on his child and says, help me, they're fighting with him right now.
There's a shooting at school. I'm fine, but I'm terrified.
Could you imagine being one of those
Call
kids?
Police. That's the frightening message Lizette Rosenblatt received from her daughter, Alexandra, a sophomore. Tell them someone is hurt on the 3rd floor. We can hear him crying and praying. I love you. Everything is going to be okay. Where are you now? I'm hiding. What floor, baby? 3rd floor.
It was 20-30 minutes that I had lost contact with her. And
Oh
those
my gosh.
20-30 minutes, I lost it. I was
Me
hysterical.
too. I would have too, Mama.
Rosenblatt's daughter survived. She, like so many from the school, will carry the pain of what has happened. Kira Perro, a student, tweeted, wishing yesterday was some type of sick dream. I'm sick to my stomach. I pray for guidance. Then she wrote, I want my friends back. Jason Carroll, CNN, New York.
Joel says he would be storming the school. Yeah, I know you would. Imagine those parents of those that were killed, not just injured, but those that were killed specifically, having to be completely silent, having to watch as they lie, as the defense team disrespects not only the judge, but them and their loved ones that passed, having to watch this piece of garbage breathe when their kids are not breathing anymore, having to then hear the jury say that they can't dole out the death penalty for him, that they're recommending life in prison, having to hear that his sentence is life in prison, that he's still going to be able to breathe air, the same air that their kids would be breathing right now if he hadn't been in their lives, if he hadn't done this. It's, to me, I get, they are so strong, man. They are so strong. I don't even know how I would handle that. I certainly wouldn't be quiet, clearly. I'm never quiet. I don't know what I would do. And I know the reason was that they did not want a mistrial. Luckily, they had an amazing team of prosecutors. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. And they had these victims advocate groups that were there for them. And I know, like, when we were talking about the Darrell Brooks trial, he represented himself. And so there was lots of disrespect there, lots of outbursts there. Another example of how screwed up our justice system is because we're protecting the wrong people. We're protecting the criminals, all under the guise of their rights, their constitutional rights, and they're the victims. No, they're not. They are the criminals, the perpetrators. We've gone so far over that we are protecting the wrong people. We should be protecting the victims. We should be protecting the parents of the victims. And we should be thinking about that. And that should be way more important than the sensitivity of these criminals. And like I said, watching Darrell Brooks disrespect that judge and knowing the reason she was allowing it was to stop any kind of mistrial. Even that was a little bit more understandable because at least he wasn't a professional lawyer. But seeing a huge team of lawyers that are trained to do this, that this is their job, this is their livelihood. He's nobody to them. He's just a client. Yet they had no problem crossing that line. They had no problem going down that path, selling their soul, per se, for a case. Our justice system is very screwed up. Linda said it would be so hard for me not to go find a way to get to him. I agree. And one of the moms today said, this isn't a perfect quote, so don't quote me on this, but this is the gist of what she said. She basically said, I've thought about this for the last couple weeks, so we've had time to think about it. and we all wanted the death penalty because you don't deserve to breathe the same air. You really don't. You don't deserve to live. But then I thought about the fact that those in prison do not like child murderers. They really don't. And she says, I hope they don't put you in solitary. I hope they put you in general population and the prison system can take out the justice for us, because they will. And I want you to be scared every day of your life, because you've been in county all this time. You've been in a county jail all this time. You're about to go to the big boy prison. And she's like, I hope that every second of your life is filled with fear and pain. And I thought about that, and I probably would have said the same thing. And some people on there were saying, well, they have just as much hatred as him. They're no better than him. And that just pissed me off, man. Like, you know what? That guy deserves to live in fear the rest of his life. He deserves to be in pain the rest of his life. So yeah. Today's topic resume is about our justice system and how screwed up it is. So we're going to go to a commercial, and then we'll come back and talk about more injustices, some that might be a little closer to home for some of you. So our first sponsor is Whitney Signs. They are incredible. We love them. Their work is the highest quality, and they're dabbling in getting involved with community service work right now, which just adds to their amazingness. So check out this video. Oh, we're back. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties again. So, let's see what comments we got. Kelly said, yes, it's screwed up. Matthew said, greetings. This type of system doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. I'm glad to see you guys. We just had a little glitch after our commercials, Kelly. Sapat said, with all these violence and bullying in the school systems and letting them get away with it, it is so disgusting. Parents that allow these kids to become criminals is beyond revolting. Yeah, I agree. So I might have had a couple more pictures that I sent, so let's see if we've got any more of those while I finish up on this topic. This guy, like I said, I'm not telling his name because I think he's got enough notoriety. I think he got his 15 minutes of fame. He looks like a piece of garbage. Psycho killer glasses even. And that lawyer to his right, God, that guy, he was so smug today when I was watching some of the testimonies from the families from yesterday. I was watching them today, and that guy sit there with a smug look on his face. I have never disliked lawyers more than I've disliked these lawyers. I gotta admit, I can't even begin to explain the disgust I have for those lawyers. So there's a lot of injustice in our country right now. That's a great example of protecting the wrong person, giving too much caution to the wrong group. You're giving way too much leeway to the criminal, and you're putting aside the feelings and the importance of those victims' rights. So I want us to think about that, and I think something needs to be done about that. And again, I don't think it has anything to do with gun control. I think it has everything to do with discipline and making these people face consequences for their actions, real consequences for their actions. Because this kid so deranged, he would have found any way to do this. Someone said, Todd said, I'm already pissed by seeing his face. Yeah, I agree. So moving on. There are lots of reasons our justice system is messed up. One reason that I've noticed a lot, because I've had a few friends on both sides of the coin deal with things like this, and it feels very wrong. And it's because we've gone from this, like with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and some of those comments, please send them into the messenger so I can read them, because I'm going to tell my story first before I read them, and I don't want to lose them. Like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, she was believed, right, for all this time. And he had to face that. Those false accusations that were levied at him, he had to face. He lost jobs, he lost friends, he lost opportunities simply because of her word, because of this believe all women concept we've came to. And it's dangerous, you guys. There's even more dangers that fall in that. There are women out there that are falsely accusing men of either domestic abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, all these kinds of abuse. They're falsely accusing them because they have something to gain from it, whether it be they're getting a divorce and they want a certain alimony, or they're getting a divorce and they want custody of the child and they don't give a shit what they're doing to the kid, or there's all kinds of reasons they just want to win. And I'm finding that because of this believe all women aspect, it's way too easy to get something like a protective order, for example. And you'll say, okay, a protective order is a civil thing. It's not that big a deal. Well, it is a big deal, because it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Then there's that stigma. Now you have to go and defend yourself, and you have to have proof to defend yourself, and you have to find a way to get out of this. And they're not requiring proof to create these protective orders. All some lady has to do is put on the paper that I was hit or my child was hit, and write it out, and that's it. And she can go ex parte, which means the other person doesn't even have to know that she's at the court, and file for it, and 9 times out of 10 she's going to get it. And then you have to go through this process of fighting it. And then what do? And this is happening a lot. Women are realizing that they have a one-up on these men when they're going through these divorces. They're realizing that, oh, I could claim abuse, and then I can have custody. I can file a report. Some of them are going so far as filing police reports and trying to criminally charge these guys just to get a one-up on them. And I'll tell you, it does damage in the long run. But I've got some inspiring information that I found out today that's really helpful to people that are going through this. Joel said a protective order can remove you from your home for weeks or a month before you ever get to court. And you have to leave in 15 minutes. Yep, that's true. That is absolutely true. I know from experience. Yeah, and it's sickening. It's honestly sickening, you guys, that this is happening and people are not honest about it. They're using it. And yeah, you're right. Women are not angels. You're absolutely 100% correct. And that's the thing is some women are willing to lie in order to get what they want. Some women are willing to lie. I'm going to read a couple of your comments here real quick. John Nieder said, I think a lot of the problem is that lawyers don't seem to focus on prosecution and defense. Instead, they focus on win or lose. The job of a defense lawyer is to ensure that their client receives a fair trial under the law. It is not their job to twist and pervert the law in order to get a guilty client off. Exactly. When did it become that their job was to lie and do whatever it takes to get this person out of trouble? Sorry, I'm turning this heater off real quick. When did it become that? And that's the dangers that we're facing right now. Millie said, as a woman, let me say, women are not angels. We need to set a mindset that a woman can be a criminal too. Exactly. So I'm learning a lot in this area because my heart is kind of in this area, specifically for the kids. Because if you have a parent that's willing to lie about the other parent, in order to get what they want, in order to further control that person, in order to get the custody of the child or whatever it is that they want, the person that they're hurting the most is that kid. And then that kid is forced to either defend the parent that they're being held from or make the parent that they're forced to be with all the time happy. Which one do you think the kid's going to do? They're going to do whatever it takes to be as comfortable as possible. And then they've got this fight in their head of, well, mom's saying dad's this really bad guy, but I don't know him that way. Am I just not seeing it? Do I believe my mom, who I love very much, or do I believe my dad, who I love very much? In these situations, the best thing parents can do, if you can't get along with each other and you can't stand each other, okay, that's fine. But you need to be amicable for your kids. And your focus needs to be taken away from I need to win and I need to win and I need to get what I want. And it needs to be solely on that child and what's best for that child. The second you take your focus off of what's best for that child, that's when you're in the wrong. 100%. Joel said the solution is simple. If a woman is caught lying and abusing the system, make it a felony with fines and jail time. And if it is used to get child custody, they should lose full custody. I agree with that. And I was reading some information today about a couple of women in Oklahoma that this happened to. And I'm going to read that story real quick. But I firmly believe that if a woman is found, like if her accusations are founded untrue, right? If her accusations are found to be untrue and there's no evidence, she needs to be prosecuted. I'm sorry, but if you're willing to harm your child just to win a case, you need to be prosecuted, and it needs to be major. Michael said, what is the benefit of getting custody using the wrong way? This is going to affect the child so much no one knows that. Absolutely. Your child can be damaged forever. It's not a simple thing. It's a forever thing. And I can tell you, having your parents fight over you is very damaging. And that could damage an adult. Think about what it does to a little kid. And man, I was lucky because I grew up in a home where my parents were together when I was a kid. They got a divorce when I was an adult, but they never ever used me as a pawn, even as an adult. And I can tell you, it hurt me as an adult what they went through. I cannot even imagine if one of them decided to launch false accusations at the other and what I would have had to go through as a kid trying to decipher in my head what's right and wrong. I would be completely lost. And it's amazing to me that these people are willing to do that. So I'm going to read you the story about these women in Oklahoma. So bear with me while I read a little bit because I want to get the story correct. So this is a story. It's about false accusations in order to win a custody battle. 2 women in Oklahoma have been arrested for making false accusations and false claims about one woman's husband to help her win an upcoming custody battle. Authorities said the women delivered a phone. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Law officers in Garvin County, Oklahoma said one of the women and her friend tried to frame the husband by placing graphic sexual images of young children on his cell phone. Oh, his old cell phone, I'm sorry. Authorities said the women delivered the phone to the Wynwood Police Department on April 18th. Gavin County Sheriff's Department officials then joined the case. The husband was soon arrested and jailed, but only for one night. Officers became suspicious when they found no images of child pornography on the man's current phone, but only on the old phone his wife had brought them. They questioned the women, and soon the wife confessed to the plot, saying she had made the false report of a crime as a way to protect her child. In doing so, she and her accomplice only managed to subject themselves to felony charges. These charges include conspiracy to commit a felony and knowingly reporting a false crime. In addition, the charges include aggravated possession of child pornography. Yeah, because they're the ones that had to look it up, right? Uh-oh, I lost my spot. Hold on. Okay. These charges include felony, knowing he committed a crime. Upon arrest, the women were placed in jail. The man was released. The wife remains in jail on a $250,000 bond. The other woman bonded out of jail. Garvin County Sheriff Jim Mullett said he'd never seen anything like this detailed and this so thought out to try to get somebody put away. It was a big plot, but we unfolded it. He said the two women used the husband's old phone last December to take over 850 screenshots of child pornography via the internet's dark web. They then rehearsed the story they would tell the police. To take the time to find all these screenshots, is very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. It's over the top. He said the wife's story was believable at first, but not for long. False claims of sexual abuse can be common, from schools to show business to couples' relationships. False claims of sexual assault or sexual abuse are common, unfortunately. Innocent victims of such false accusations have legal remedies, to begin with seeking the best criminal defense lawyer they can find. Also, defending the legal rights of a victim of false claims. A criminal defense lawyer can also provide resources for those facing these false crimes. Anyways, it goes on to say custody, divorce fights, and vengeance spur many false claims. As research has revealed, and the Oklahoma case substantiates, most false child sex abuse claims, perhaps as much as 70%, are made by adults who are attempting to gain leverage in a legal proceeding such as child custody battle or a divorce settlement.
I'm speechless.
Yeah. False claims of sexual assault or child sexual abuse also may be made by some adults to take revenge against the accused person. This could be a lover or a spouse that may have been spurned and then might take out their anger by making unsubstantiated claims of sex crimes against their ex. Years of sustained and bitter attacks by actress Mia Farrow against former boyfriend Woody Allen and by Angelina Jolie against former husband Brad Pitt are widely believed to be cases of false claims made in order to exact vengeance. After investigations, both those men were never charged or arrested. It goes on to give you some stats about this stuff, but this is what threw me for a loop. So a study recently came out that 7.6% of all reports of child sex abuse are false allegations. And 10% of all child abuse claims are false. That's a huge amount, you guys. Huge. Sapat says, I've seen and talked to females when I used to go to domestic violence class play victims. They were the ones that got themselves put in jail for beating the crap out of and trying to kill their significant other or spouse. Ooh, jeez, that's awful. So this is an example where justice was served quickly, right? But in a lot of these cases, it's not that quick. A lot of these cases, it happens for a long period of time. And when we come back from this next commercial, I'll tell you a little bit how you can fight it. Our next commercial is Hitch and Post Pizza. They're amazing. They're the best. And Val, the owner, and her husband are just incredible people. So if you're ever in the area, or even within an hour or two of the area, come check out Hitch and Post Pizza. Okay, Millie said, I just got goosebumps hearing these things. Todd said, best pizza ever. Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to give you kind of a detail along the way of how you can fight this, ways to fight this. So let's say it starts off with a protective order. Say you get kicked out of your home. There's a protective order against you because your wife and you are separating and she wants to have a leg up on you. And these allegations are absolutely false. Okay, say she's claiming you abused her or the child, but they're absolutely false. First thing you need to know is, yes, you need to fight it and push for a hearing, but do not go alone. Get a lawyer immediately. Get a lawyer. Do not go alone. It'll never be in your favor. They will walk all over you. The judges also are in the women's corner, always. So get a lawyer. Next thing you need to know is get a timeline put together, pictures, recordings, text messages, any kind of evidence you can get that shows that this did not happen. And if there's a date on this claim of abuse, if you have a Google phone, I'm pretty sure Google Maps can trace everywhere you've been. If you have any way to prove you are not in the same area as this person, get that information. Any way you can show where you were on that date, especially if they put a specific day and time. If you can prove that you were nowhere near them at that time, you need to have that. But you always have to have a lawyer. So that's how you can fight the protective order. Sometimes they'll still uphold the protective order, but you have to have a lawyer with you to have any kind of chance, okay? Say CPS is called because of this order, okay? CPS is investigating. Do not cooperate with them alone. Say, I'm willing to cooperate, but I need a lawyer present first. Let your lawyer help you through this. If CPS is requiring you guys to have counseling, whether it be individual or family counseling, do not take the counselor that they offer. Find your own counselors, okay? Because the counselors that they offer, usually they're afraid to contradict CPS investigators' findings for fear of losing their contract. They get paid for counseling abusers, not for finding that you are not an abuser, okay? If you have no choice and are required to see one of their therapists, it's also a good idea to hire your own as well. If CPS has determined that you abused your child, they usually present you with a written finding. They should also inform you about your right to appeal their finding administratively. Do not miss the deadlines for filing an administrative appeal. A significant number of CPS findings are overturned on administrative appeal. A father's rights organization or counselor referred by them can often help you with your appeal in addition to your attorney. If you are falsely accused of domestic violence, either a misdemeanor or a felony, now we're getting into the criminal. Say they called the police and now the state is charging you with something and you have to go to trial. It may be tempting to plead no contest, which I can attest. They try to get you to plead no contest, say it's no big deal. It's a misdemeanor. Let's plead no contest. Then you can go to these classes. It's a deferred adjudication. You pay a fine. You attend these batterers intervention classes and counseling, and then they'll wipe it from your record. This is a trap. If you do this, it will seriously weaken you later in a custody battle and in civil and family court. So do not fall for that, okay? The best thing you can do is get a lawyer for both. Say you're fighting civil and criminal. You need a civil lawyer and you need a criminal lawyer. They will appoint you somebody, but you need to make sure that person that's appointed to you criminally is good, okay? If that person doesn't believe in you and you think that they're trying to push this class on you instead and they're not willing to fight for you, you go find someone else and find someone that'll fight for you. The worst thing you can do is roll over and take it for fear of more fighting, for fear of having to go through the process. It's a long process, but you have to do it. You've got to fight every step of the way, because I'm going to tell you this. If the person that you were married to or still married to but are getting divorced from, the other parent of your child, is willing to go to these lengths, then they are not thinking of your child's best interest. And if you are not willing to fight for your child and you're too tired or you're too scared to fight, then you're not thinking of your child's best interest. So then who does your child have? Who do they have? If this person's willing to lie and damage you and put you through hell for no reason other than they're angry with you, and also put your child through that, you have to be willing to fight for your child, no matter how hard it is, because your kid did not ask for this, and they need one of you at least to be on their side. Okay? What if the evidence is falsely created? That's another thing. You have a lawyer. You need a lawyer that can help you find that. Whatever they try to create false evidence, if you need to create evidence, a timeline, a trail, all that stuff I told you, that is true and real. The more evidence you have, the more characters witnesses you have, the more people that have seen you with your family and your child you have, the more evidence you have on your side, the better. Connie said having a lawyer is really the most effective thing in that situation. Exactly. Again, I say you have to fight. And now I've seen situations where women will go so far that they're so controlling that the reality of the situation is the woman claiming that the man is an abuser. It's actually the other way around. The man is the victim. He's been in this marriage for a long time and he's been controlled and verbally and emotionally and physically sometimes abused by this woman. But men typically don't believe that they can be abused. So they let it go. They don't think of it that way. And this woman now, as she's leaving this relationship, still is grasping onto that control. Well, if she doesn't have you to control, who's she going to move her abuse to? That child. Another reason you have to fight for your kid or kids. I know that this can be hard and it sucks that our justice system is screwed up. And I can tell you this, one of my passions is fighting for this stuff, being an advocate for those that need it. And I will continue to do that. But I urge you, if any of you are going through this, you have to fight back. Get a lawyer. Fight for your child. Fight for yourself. It's a long, long process. If you have an evil person that you're fighting against that's willing to do anything, they will probably fight you until that child is an adult. Okay? So you have to be prepared for the long haul. Because even if you win the battle, they will keep coming back and trying to hit you more and more and more. And that can get overwhelming and that can get exhausting. But you have to keep fighting because this does permanent damage to these kids. The real problem here, the real damage that's being done is to these children when the justice system is so quick to believe women that are lying. They're so quick. And unfortunately, a lot of times the justice system is set up to protect the abuser. And that is scary. That's a very scary thought that that's the case. And so I urge you guys to fight for your rights. Again, another thing I wanted to talk about, and we can go to another commercial real quick before I talk about the rest of this. So I'm thinking we need to do the Slappy Dwarves commercial. There's this really cool game coming out. It's not out yet, but take a look at Slappy Dwarves. Okay, so I know there's a couple comments there. Millie says, I don't know why, but every time I come to see your show, it gives me new hope to fight situations more. Oh, thanks, Millie. That's great. I'm happy to do that for you, and that's one of my goals here. Let me see. There was another comment. Sapat said, when Jay and I went through DHS, family court, and my domestic violence groups, we both had a really good lawyer and helped fight for us. That's why our lives have changed a lot. We watch other families in court didn't care about their kids because drugs were more important than their kids. Oh, that's sad. John Nieder said, many years ago, it was common in DV cases to just plead out and pay a fine as advised by your lawyers. Flash forward, and the firearms law was changed to include any conviction for domestic violence. As a result, thousands of people, mostly men, lost their rights, their 2A rights, and many lost their jobs because they were law enforcement, security guards, and such. And that's another danger here if you don't fight. Just the plain accusation, the false accusation can be enough to lose your job. And this is another way that the justice system is helping abusers further abuse their victims. In reality, that's what they're doing. So another example here that I wanted to talk about before we go is how men can be victims too. On average, it takes men having been in an abusive relationship for at least 3 years before they even reach out for assistance. Women are very much taught that the domestic abuse is something that happens to women, and therefore they need to be on their guard. Men really aren't taught that or brought up in the same way. There's a study that found differences in the way heterosexuals and non-heterosexuals receive support after seeking help for domestic abuse. Researchers say services directed at victims of domestic abuse and violence need to be more inclusive to cater to diverse clients. They also noted that offering continuous ongoing support and wide advertising would benefit men seeking help. Another thing that we found with male survivors of domestic abuse are that they typically won't reach out unless they can be anonymous. Support should focus on helping men understand and recognize abusive behaviors and the seriousness of the abuse that they're in. When men are unable to see themselves as victims, it increases their reluctance to seek help. So men can be victims too. And it's unfortunate that men are taught that it's weak to claim you're a victim or to admit that. And a lot of men to this day who are being abused don't necessarily see that. Another problem that I've noticed being in this realm and being an advocate for several people in the last few years is that a lot of these places that are set up to help victims are made for women and children. If a man comes into one of those places, they're immediately kicked out, in fear that it might trigger one of the women victims. But where are men victims supposed to go? Where are they supposed to get help? How are they supposed to realize that they are a victim if there is nothing out there to help them? There needs to be more done for men. There needs to be more done for men that are straight out victims of abuse. There needs to be more for men that are dealing with false allegations. That is another form of abuse. We need to do better. Our justice system needs to improve tremendously, and that's in civil and criminal ways. And I personally will continue to try to be an advocate for people that come across me and ask, and I might be pushing harder in that area. I'd like to see more people fight to advocate for those that they know need help, and also tell the truth. I mean, if you hear a rumor about somebody, say it's a man in your community or a man that's famous, and you hear a rumor about them that they're abusing this woman, like Johnny Depp, for example, don't perpetuate that rumor. Find out the facts, learn for yourself, do your own research, get to know that person if it's possible, hear their side of the story too, because there's always more than one side to the story, and the truth is usually in the middle, okay? So if you're only hearing from one side, they can easily be lying to you to gain sympathy, to gain services, to get a one-up, or to win, basically. So I urge all of you to not fall for helping spread those rumors, because they can be very dangerous. They can put people in danger of just walking in their neighborhood. They can put people in danger of losing their careers. They can put people in danger of losing their families. So I urge you to not take part in that. There's too many people that jump on the bandwagon, especially online, and perpetuate these rumors, perpetuate this abuse. And then, if you see something going on, an injustice going on, fight for it. Do something. We all need to stand up and fight for this stuff. So I've got some comments. Joel said the Powerball is up to 1.5 billion. Holy moly, do we need to get tickets? Not that we would win, but it's fun to dream. John said statistically about 40% of DV cases are men that are the victims. That's a huge percentage, you guys.
As a princess, I am always underestimated.
Yep, that's true. I am. In our society, it is almost like men can't be a victim of abuse. We need to change that thinking from our minds first. Absolutely, Lauren. Even a coin has two different sides, then a story can have two sides too. That's true. There's a lot more to it than you may know. So I urge you to seek the actual truth. And fight for these people that are in this space. And if you're dealing with something like this, please get a lawyer, reach out to support reach out to advocates in your area that will help you. And good luck. I don't wish that on anyone. I hope you guys have a good week. Stay warm out there, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Goodbye, everybody.
Folk